Live from downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma's own News on 6 starts now.
We're following breaking news. Crews are still battling wildfires right now in Osage County. We'll have a live report on the situation there.
Well, today's the day. I'm going to update you on storm chances as it goes this afternoon tonight and the latest severe weather threats.
Early voting begins today. What you'll need in order to cast your vote at the polls. Welcome to 6 in the morning at 4:30. I'm MaKayla Glenn in for Tesmani.
Alan Crown, good morning. Good morning, MaKayla.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday, Alan.
Here we are. Today's the day. We've been discussing for a while that a cold front will be approaching later this afternoon tonight. It'll bring some good news because we're going to get some showers and storms out of this system.
We're following breaking news this morning. Fires are still burning in parts of Osage County. News on 6's photojournalist Gary Cruz is live near Pawhuska right now. Gary, what are you seeing?
Well, I'm at a location on Skyline Drive. A few minutes ago, the fire picked up a little bit, approached what appears to be a vacant or abandoned house. Firefighters came back out, were able to put a good dose of water around the house. It's not damaged.
All right, Gary, thank you, and please stay safe out there. A large fire broke out in Pryor yesterday, causing at least one family to evacuate their home just before 9 last night. Pryor Creek Police Chief posted on social media last night for residents to stay away from the area on Old Highway 20 east of True Road. He shared this video and photos of the fire. He also said that emergency crews were able to get the fire under control around midnight. One of the biggest fires in Green Country was southeast of Cushing yesterday. People living southeast of Cushing got evacuation orders on their phones because of the fire.
Seeing those flames and knowing that if they get those cedars right there, those tree lines are going to all light up and get my neighbor's place, and that's my biggest fear.
At least 20 different fire departments were working this fire. Multiple Green Country fire crews fought a Delaware fire yesterday in Nowata County. Just before 4 p.m., a fire broke out at least 3 miles wide. Nowata County Emergency Management shared these photos and said thank you to 5 other different fire departments for assisting in putting out the flames. More than 40 counties in Oklahoma currently have a burn ban in place. Rules for each ordinance can vary by county, so it's best to check with your county officials or the State Forestry Service for rules for where you live. We also have more information on county burn bans on our website at newson6.com. The U.S. Department of Justice says a Stillwell resident is sentenced to 24 years and 4 second-degree murder in Indian country. Authorities say in September of 2021, Jerry Matlock shot someone from the inside of his truck, killing them, and then drove away. Law enforcement arrested Matlock less than a mile away from the scene of the crime. In February, the department says Matlock pleaded guilty to the charges, which included a federal firearms offense. Yesterday, the department says he was sentenced to 24 years in federal prison. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says a man is dead after his van veered off the road and hit a tree. This happened northwest of Bernice in Mays County at this intersection of East 265 Road and South 520 Road. 70-year-old Jack Strobel was driving a van heading north on 520 Road when his car veered off and ran into a tree. Troopers say the cause of the crash was traveling at an unsafe speed before making a turn. This crash is still under investigation. Today is the first day of early voting in Oklahoma ahead of next week's election. News on 6's Jonathan Polasic is live with what you need to know before you cast your ballot. Jonathan.
MaKayla, we're just a few hours away from the start of early voting.
Jonathan, thank you. Early voting runs today, tomorrow, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and again on Saturday, November 2nd from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. With less than a week to go until Election Day, election officials are working to debunk false claims, calling into question the integrity of the process and the results. It comes as former President Trump and the Republican National Committee are suing some Democratic officials, alleging problems with the process. In dozens of previous cases, courts have found no evidence of widespread voter fraud. That includes claims about improper registration, non-citizens participation, and the voting systems themselves. Chris Mann with the Center for Election Innovation and Research says as early voting expands across the country, poll workers are able to focus on other potential issues.
It does a lot to help them, give them more time to deal with any problems, whether that's a power outage at a polling place, misinformation about voting procedures.
According to the Brennan Center for Justice, that misinformation is in part leading to an uptick in threats and abuse to the more than 10,000 local election officials nationwide. Officials are stressing that people with questions about the process should go to vote.gov and get information about voting in their jurisdictions from legitimate sources before casting their ballot. Tulsans will decide who the next mayor is less than a week from today, and homelessness has been a key campaign issue for both candidates. John 3:16 says it helps homeless people get IDs and register to vote year-round and has been making announcements about the upcoming election. Lead pastor and CEO Stephen Whitaker says people staying at the shelter can list the shelter as their address and get their voter ID card in the mail.
We want to be mindful of their wanting to feel normal and wanting to be a citizen and to be functioning in community. That's our process here.
Metrolink Tulsa is offering free bus rides on Election Day to help get people to the polls. Let's check in with Alan for another look at your forecast.
Yeah, good morning, MaKayla. Hi, everybody. Strong south winds continuing now at around 15 to 30 miles per hour. The top end, the highest wind speeds today should stay to the west and to the northwest.
Thank you, Alan. It's 4:42. Later, Thunder players give back to student athletes. Why? A Thunder player says it means a lot to him to serve young men who remind him of where he came from. Up next, what the presidential candidates are up to during their last week of campaigning.
You're watching Oklahoma's Own 6 in the morning.
The 2024 presidential candidates are continuing their final push towards Election Day, which is now less than a week away. Jared Hill has more from Cleveland, Ohio, on the candidates' final week of campaigning.
It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
Vice President Kamala Harris, before her largest campaign crowd yet, gave her closing argument in the same place former President Donald Trump gave his January 6th speech.
This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge.
Trump took to the stage in Allentown, Pennsylvania shortly after, trying to woo Latino voters in the wake of a self-described insult comic at his Sunday rally, calling Puerto Rico an island of garbage.
I will deliver the best future for Puerto Ricans and for Hispanic Americans.
Trump and his allies are now seizing on comments made by President Joe Biden yesterday, after he too waded into the controversy.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Remember Hillary? She said deplorable. Garbage, I think, is worse, right?
Biden later posted on X that he was referring to the comedian's rhetoric. One state over from the Commonwealth, increasingly red Ohio, is no longer considered a White House battleground, but it is knee-deep in the fight for control of Congress. Democratic incumbent Sherrod Brown needs Trump voters in his tight Senate race with Trump-backed challenger Bernie Moreno.
I want to maintain the control right now of the Senate.
You're not someone who always votes for one party.
No, I don't. Because you have to really check and balances.
CBS News is watching 10 other Senate races as Democrats face a tight map that leaves them with slim hopes of holding on to their 51-49 majority. Jared Hill, CBS News, Cleveland, Ohio.
From the Bob Mills Weather Center, the Oklahoma weather expert, Ellen Crone.
Howdy, friends. Appreciate you watching. 81 today. Windy weather. Clouds off and on this morning. A little sun break midday. The fire danger is still with us. It's not going away, even though we'll have higher humidity values today. What will technically tend to mitigate some of the fire spread rates. But the fires that are started right now, they're still going, obviously, with that strong south wind, and a high today near 81. We're going to look at the radar occasionally this morning. We won't see a whole lot going on, at least initially, but there will be at least a chance for a couple of spotty showers or two that will develop off and on. There's that smoke plume that we've been watching. There's a fire that is flared up there in the northwestern sections of the Creek County area, and you can see that smoke plume there. So we've got a couple of fires that are running. 70s out the door, 70s at noon. High this afternoon is going to be into the lower 80s. We'll be into the 70s tonight. Now, what about the timeline? Again, this morning, we can't rule out a spotty shower developing, but around the noon, 2, 3, 4, and 5 o'clock hour, a few spotty scattered showers and storms. Eastern Oklahoma could be just about anywhere. But then around 8, 9, 10 to 11 and midnight, that late night time period, that goes up to a likely category for showers and storms that will develop. Initially, they'll develop right in through here, north central Oklahoma, south central Kansas, and they're going to drive into our areas. So we still have a likely category for most locations from Stroud, Bristow, Pawnee, Pawhuska eastward, and it's this area that's still the moderate chance around the I-35 corridor. Then we have another system, as we mentioned earlier, that will be showing up late Friday night. Saturday, scattered showers and storms off and on, and the same thing Sunday, and the same thing early on Monday. So we've been going for about a month and a half. You can't buy a drop of rain, and now the pattern's changed. We're going to be tracking shower storm chances. Severe weather risk assessment. If you're watching and listening, you got a chance, but especially in that shaded area, we need to watch right in through there for kind of more significant severe storms. The tornado threat is with us. I mean, it's not exceptionally high, but 1 or 2 tornadoes cannot be ruled out in this storm system as it tries to develop later this afternoon, especially tonight. So we're at 73 right now. The dew point's at 59. That's going to come up. So everybody's into the 70s, 72 to 73 in the Tulsa metro. Highs this afternoon will reach the lower 80s. Now, before the main system approaches, notice again, we could have a couple of spotty showers or storms trying to develop this afternoon. Here's the noon and 1, 2, and 3 o'clock hour. So we'll even watch for a couple of these developing this afternoon. Then we're going to be watching right in through here. All right, this is going to be 8, 9, and 10 o'clock. There's that line of scattered showers and thunderstorms. Some of those could be quite strong to severe. Here's about 11 to midnight near the Tulsa metro. Again, this is a computer simulation, so plus or minus about, an hour is a possibility here. And then around 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, it's pushing through southeastern Oklahoma, and by around 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, it has now left the state. It's moving into Arkansas, and we'll see sunshine tomorrow and a high into the 60s. Primetime trick-or-treating hours is going to be into the 50s. MaKayla, Friday looks pretty good. And then over the weekend, shower and storm chances continuing into early next week. This is the time change weekend.
Thank you, Alan. Thunder players dropped off donations and life tips with a group of student basketball players. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander describes what it's like to give back to a group as he stated he was once in their shoes. Oklahoma City Thunder players Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Lou Dort made a surprise visit to Cleats for Kids as part of the Thunder's Sneaker Pledge program. The Thunder donated basketball shoes to the nonprofit. Student athletes from the Putnam Heights Academy boys basketball team were also in attendance. SGA and Dort spent time talking to students and helped them shop for shoes from the Cleats for Kids locker room. The players also autographed jerseys, t-shirts, and shoes for the young athletes.
A lot of us were in the same position as those kids, growing up, just aspiring to do things, obviously not having the best of resources, but still having a part of belief and dreaming. It's cool to just show the kids that you can still achieve things that you want to achieve, no matter what your surroundings look like.
The Thunder's Sneaker Pledge program is made possible by the Thunder players and provides new and moderately used basketball shoes to Oklahoma student athletes. Cleats for Kids receives Sneaker Pledge donations from the Thunder organization twice a year. It's 4:55 coming up in our next hour of 6 in the morning, how basketball fans can get a behind-the-scenes look at the life of Thunder guard Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And as we inch closer to Election Day, we'll have a look at how election officials are trying to fight against voter misinformation.